Picture a professor in 1940s America, surrounded by thousands of handwritten dream reports, attempting something that seemed almost impossibly ambitious, creating a standardized test that could measure the unmeasurable, the content of human dreams. This is the story of Calvin Hall, a behavioral psychologist who believed that dreams, like exam scores or personality assessments, could be quantified, categorized, and compared across entire populations. Most of us think of dreams as deeply personal, fleeting experiences that vanish with our morning coffee. But Calvin Hall saw something else entirely. He saw patterns waiting to be discovered, data waiting to be harvested, and a window into the human psyche that had never been properly opened. What he created would become known as the Hall-Van de Castle Dream Coding System, a comprehensive framework that turned nocturnal wanderings into scientific data. The idea seems almost quaint now, doesn't it? In our age of brain scans and neural networks, the notion of analyzing dreams with pencil and paper categories feels wonderfully analog. But Hall's approach was revolutionary for its time. And surprisingly, it's still used by researchers today who want to understand what our sleeping minds are really up to. Calvin Springer Hall wasn't your typical dream researcher. Born in 1909 in Seattle, Washington, he came to psychology through an unusual route. He started as a minister before switching to the scientific study of human behavior. Perhaps this background gave him a unique perspective on the mysterious realm of dreams. Where Freud saw symbols and repressed desires, Hall saw something more systematic, cognitive processes that could be measured and understood through careful observation. Hall's father was a justice on the Washington State Supreme Court, which perhaps instilled in him an appreciation for systematic thinking and careful categorization. But unlike the legal world where his father worked, Hall was venturing into territory that had never been properly mapped. Dreams had been the domain of poets, mystics, and psychoanalysts, not empirical scientists armed with statistical methods. If you love uncovering these hidden tales of scientific innovation, you'll feel right at home here. Stick around for more. Hall's journey began in the 1940s when he started collecting dream reports from college students at Western Reserve University. But unlike previous researchers who focused on individual dreams and their supposed meanings, Hall was thinking bigger, much bigger. He wanted to analyze thousands of dreams to find universal patterns in human dream experience. It was an approach that borrowed from the emerging field of survey research. Treat dreams like responses to a questionnaire, then look for statistical patterns across the entire data set. The process was remarkably labor-intensive. Hall and his students would sit with typewritten dream reports, carefully reading through each one and marking down specific elements according to a growing list of categories. How many characters appeared in the dream? What was their gender, age, and relationship to the dreamer? Were there animals present? What emotions were expressed? What kind of physical setting did the dream take place in? What started as a simple categorization project gradually evolved into something much more sophisticated. By the early 1960s, Hall had partnered with Robert Van de Castle, a fellow psychologist who helped him refine and formalize the system. Together, they created what would become the gold standard for quantitative dream research, a comprehensive coding system with 10 major categories and dozens of subcategories. Van de Castle brought his own expertise in clinical psychology and statistical analysis to the collaboration. He had been studying under Hall at the University of Miami, where Hall had moved in 1961. Their partnership represented a perfect blend of Hall's visionary approach and Van de Castle's methodological rigor. Together, they spent countless hours refining the categories, testing inter-rater reliability, and establishing the precise definitions that would make their system scientifically viable. The Hall-Van de Castle system reads like a strange hybrid between a standardized test and a field guide to the unconscious mind. There are categories for characters, distinguishing between family members, friends, and strangers. There are categories for social interactions, friendly, aggressive, or sexual encounters. There are categories for emotions, objects, settings, and activities. Each category comes with detailed rules about how to identify and count specific elements. For example, if someone dreams about arguing with their mother while riding a bus through downtown, a trained coder would mark this as containing one family character, one aggressive interaction, one vehicle, and one urban setting. The dream would be scored across multiple dimensions simultaneously, creating a numerical profile that could be compared with thousands of other dreams. But the real genius of their system lay in its specific definitions and examples. The coding manual provided detailed examples for each category, with specific dream excerpts showing exactly how to identify and count different elements. Aggressive interactions were defined by examples like, "He hit my brother with all my might on the head," or "This fellow and I started to trade punches." Every category had similarly precise guidelines to ensure that different researchers would code the same dream report in the same way. The characters category alone was divided into multiple subcategories: individual characters versus groups, male versus female, family members versus friends versus strangers, humans versus animals. Each character had to be identified and classified according to their relationship to the dreamer and their role in the dream narrative. Dead characters were coded separately from living ones. Fictional characters were distinguished from real people. Even the dreamer's own appearance in the dream was coded systematically. The social interactions categories represented perhaps the most innovative aspect of the system. Hall and Van de Kassel identified three main types of social interactions: aggressive, friendly, and sexual. But within each type, they created detailed subcategories based on the intensity and nature of the interaction. An aggressive interaction might range from a mild disagreement to physical violence. A friendly interaction might be anything from a casual conversation to an expression of deep affection. What made this categorization system particularly sophisticated was its attention to the direction of interactions. Who initiated the aggression? Who was the target? Was the dreamer the aggressor or the victim? This directional coding allowed researchers to analyze not just the overall emotional tone of dreams, but the dreamer's role in social conflicts and relationships. The emotions category required coders to identify and classify every emotional expression in the dream, whether experienced by the dreamer or other characters. Fear, anger, joy, sadness, confusion, surprise. Each emotion was coded according to its intensity and the character who experienced it. This systematic approach to dream emotions revealed patterns that had never been documented before. Settings and objects categories captured the physical world of dreams with equal precision. Indoor versus outdoor settings, familiar versus unfamiliar locations, urban versus rural environments. Every aspect of the dream's physical context was systematically recorded. Objects were classified as natural or manufactured, large or small, used or merely present. Even the architectural details of dream buildings were coded when they appeared. The activities category tracked what characters did in dreams, from simple actions like walking or talking to complex behaviors like driving or playing sports. This category proved particularly valuable for understanding how dream content related to the dreamer's waking life activities and concerns. Soon you'll hear about how this systematic approach revealed something surprising about the consistency of human dream life, and how it challenged everything psychologists thought they knew about the nature of dreaming. But here's where Hall's approach gets really interesting. He wasn't just counting dream elements for the sake of counting. He was testing specific hypotheses about human psychology. Hall believed that dreams reflected our waking concerns and relationships, and that by analyzing dream content systematically, researchers could uncover fundamental patterns in how people think and feel. One of Hall's most famous discoveries was what he called the male aggression coefficient. By analyzing thousands of dreams from both men and women, he found that men's dreams contained significantly more aggressive interactions than women's dreams. This pattern held true across different cultures and age groups, suggesting something universal about gender differences in dream content. But the gender differences went beyond simple aggression. Hall discovered that men's dreams featured more male characters, more outdoor settings, and more physical activities, while women's dreams included more indoor settings, more familiar characters, and more conversations. These patterns were so consistent that trained coders could predict a dreamer's gender with remarkable accuracy based solely on dream content. Hall also discovered what researchers now call the friendly-aggressive ratio, the balance between positive and negative social interactions in dreams. Most people's dreams contained roughly twice as many aggressive encounters as friendly ones. This finding challenged the popular notion that dreams were wish fulfillment fantasies. If dreams were about getting what we want, why would they be filled with conflict and unpleasantness? The answer, Hall suggested, lay in understanding dreams as cognitive rather than motivational phenomena. Dreams weren't about fulfilling wishes or expressing repressed desires. They were about processing information, working through problems, and making sense of daily experiences. The predominance of negative emotions in dreams reflected the fact that our waking lives contain more problems to solve than wishes to fulfill. The beauty of Hall's system was its reliability. Unlike Freudian dream analysis, which depended heavily on the interpreter's theoretical orientation, the Hall-Van de Castle system could be learned by any researcher willing to master the coding rules. Two different people analyzing the same dream would typically arrive at very similar numerical scores. This made the system genuinely scientific in a way that previous dream research had never been. Hall established rigorous training procedures for coders. New researchers had to practice on hundreds of dream reports, comparing their results with those of experienced coders until they achieved acceptable levels of agreement. The system was so detailed that very few people, if any, have been able to use very many categories of the coding system without referring back to the rules and examples. The standardization that Hall achieved was remarkable. By the 1960s, he had established numerical norms for different types of dream content based on analysis of thousands of dreams from college students. Researchers could take a person's dreams, analyze them using the coding system, and compare the results to established baselines. Did this person dream about family members more or less than average? Were their dreams more aggressive than typical? Did they have an unusual number of indoor versus outdoor settings? This approach revealed something fascinating about the stability of individual dream patterns. When Hall analyzed series of dreams from the same person collected over months or even years, he found remarkable consistency. People seemed to have distinctive dream signatures, consistent patterns in the types of characters, settings, and interactions that appeared in their nocturnal experiences. One of Hall's most intriguing case studies involved a man who kept a dream journal for over 50 years. When Hall analyzed this extraordinary collection using his coding system, he found that the man's dream patterns remained remarkably stable across decades. The ratio of male to female characters, the balance of indoor to outdoor settings, the frequency of aggressive versus friendly interactions, all of these remained consistent even as the man aged from his 20s into his 70s. This finding suggested something profound about the relationship between dreams and personality. If dreams were random neurological noise, as some theories proposed, you wouldn't expect to see such consistent individual patterns. Hall's data suggested that dreams might be more like psychological fingerprints, unique patterns that reflect stable aspects of personality and cognition. Hall's archive of coded dream reports became an invaluable resource for testing these ideas. By 1966, when he and Van de Castle published their definitive manual, The Content Analysis of Dreams, they had analyzed over 10,000 dream reports. This massive database allowed them to establish reliable norms for dream content and to test hypotheses about individual differences, cultural variations, and developmental changes in dreaming. But Hall's system also revealed universal patterns that transcended individual differences. Across thousands of dreams from hundreds of people, certain regularities emerged. Most dreams, regardless of the dreamer's age, gender, or cultural background, took place indoors. Most dreams featured more familiar characters than strangers. Most dreams contained at least one other person besides the dreamer. Most dreams took place in familiar rather than exotic locations. These findings painted a picture of dream life that was far more systematic than anyone had previously imagined. Dreams weren't random chaos or symbolic messages from the unconscious. They were cognitive products with measurable, predictable characteristics. The systematic nature of dream content suggested that dreaming served important psychological functions, even if those functions weren't immediately obvious. The Hall-Van de Castle system also allowed researchers to study cultural differences in dream content for the first time. By applying the same coding system to dream reports from different societies, researchers could quantify cultural variations in dreaming. They found, for example, that people from more traditional societies had dreams with more family members and fewer strangers, while people from industrialized societies showed the opposite pattern. These cross-cultural studies revealed that while the basic structure of dreaming appeared universal, the specific content reflected cultural values and social structures. Dreams from cultures that emphasized collective decision-making featured more group activities and fewer individual achievements. Dreams from societies with strict gender roles showed more pronounced differences between male and female dream content. What twist in Hall's research surprised you most about this systematic approach to dreams? Let me know below. I might explore your favorite discovery next. As Hall's reputation grew, his dream archive became a unique scientific resource. By the 1970s, he had collected and coded over 50,000 dream reports, an unprecedented database of human dream content. Researchers from around the world began using his data to test theories about everything from gender differences to cultural variations to the effects of age on dream content. The system's influence extended beyond academic psychology. Clinical psychologists began using modified versions of the Hall-Van de Castle system to analyze their patients' dreams quantitatively. Instead of relying solely on subjective interpretation, therapists could track changes in their patients' dream patterns over time, looking for numerical indicators of psychological improvement or deterioration. A patient with depression, for example, might show dreams with unusually high levels of negative emotions, more aggressive interactions, and fewer positive social encounters. As therapy progressed, these quantitative measures could provide objective evidence of improvement, complementing the therapist's clinical observations and the patient's subjective reports. The medical applications of Hall's system proved particularly valuable in studying the effects of various psychological disorders on dream content. Researchers found that people with anxiety disorders had dreams with more misfortunes and fewer successes. Patients with PTSD showed distinctive patterns of aggressive interactions and negative emotions. Even neurological conditions like Parkinson's disease could be detected through changes in dream content patterns. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Hall's legacy is how his system bridged the gap between subjective experience and objective measurement. Dreams had always been considered inherently private and unquantifiable. How do you measure something that exists only in the dreamer's mind? Hall showed that even the most personal psychological experiences could be subjected to rigorous scientific analysis. The coding system wasn't without its critics. Of course, some psychologists argued that reducing dreams to numerical categories missed their essential meaning and significance. Others questioned whether dreams collected in laboratory settings were representative of normal dream experience. Still, others worried that the emphasis on quantification was leading researchers away from the rich qualitative aspects of dream content that made them psychologically meaningful. Hall himself was aware of these limitations. He never claimed that his system captured everything important about dreams, only that it provided a reliable way to measure certain aspects of dream content that could be studied scientifically. He saw the coding system as a tool, not as a complete theory of dreaming. The quantitative approach didn't replace interpretation. It provided a foundation for more rigorous interpretation. The emergence of REM sleep research in the 1950s initially seemed to threaten Hall's approach. The discovery that dreams were associated with specific brain states led many researchers to focus on the biological rather than psychological aspects of dreaming. Why analyze dream content when you could study the neural mechanisms that produced dreams in the first place? But Hall recognized that biological and psychological approaches to dreaming were complementary rather than competitive. Understanding the brain mechanisms of dreaming was important, but it didn't eliminate the need to understand what dreams actually contained. After all, you could map every neural firing pattern during REM sleep and still not know whether someone was dreaming about their mother or a stranger, about conflict or friendship, about familiar or exotic locations. In the 1980s, Hall's approach faced new challenges from emerging neuroscience research. Brain imaging technologies promised to reveal the neural mechanisms underlying dream experience, making Hall's paper and pencil approach seem somewhat outdated. Some researchers began to argue that content analysis was unnecessary. If you could watch the brain dreaming, why bother with the dreamer's report? But the Hall-Van de Castle system proved more durable than its critics expected. Even as neuroscience advanced, researchers continued to find value in systematic content analysis. Brain scans could tell you which regions were active during dreaming, but they couldn't tell you whether someone was dreaming about their mother or a stranger, about conflict or friendship, about familiar or exotic locations. Modern dream researchers often use Hall's system in combination with newer technologies. They might analyze the content of dreams collected in sleep laboratories using the traditional coding categories, then correlate these content patterns with brain imaging data. This hybrid approach allows researchers to connect the subjective experience of dreaming with its underlying neural mechanisms. The digital age has breathed new life into Hall's approach. Researchers are now developing automated systems that can analyze dream reports using natural language processing and machine learning algorithms. These systems are trained on dreams that have been manually coded using the Hall-Van de Castle system, allowing computers to identify dream elements with increasing accuracy. This technological evolution represents a fascinating full circle. Hall's vision of standardized dream measurement, originally implemented through painstaking manual coding, is now being realized through artificial intelligence. The numerical categories that Hall and his students marked by hand can now be identified automatically by algorithms trained on the vast database of coded dreams that Hall spent decades accumulating. Contemporary researchers have also expanded Hall's basic framework to address questions he never considered. They've developed specialized coding systems for analyzing nightmares, lucid dreams, and dreams associated with psychological trauma. They've created new categories to capture aspects of dream content that Hall's system missed, such as the dreamer's sense of self-awareness or the degree of bizarreness in dream scenarios. The bizarreness category, for example, attempts to quantify how strange or impossible dream events are compared to waking experience. Flying, talking animals, impossible architecture, time distortions, all of these elements can now be systematically identified and counted. This has allowed researchers to study individual differences in dream bizarreness and to explore how various factors influence the strangeness of dream content. Lucid dreaming. The phenomenon of becoming aware that you're dreaming while still in the dream has also been analyzed using extensions of Hall's approach. Researchers have developed coding categories to identify moments of lucidity and to track how lucid awareness affects other aspects of dream content. Do lucid dreamers have more control over their dream characters? Do they engage in different types of activities? Do their dreams become more or less emotional when they realize they're dreaming? The study of nightmares has benefited tremendously from systematic content analysis. By applying modified versions of the Hall-Van de Castle system to nightmare reports, researchers have identified the specific elements that make dreams frightening. Nightmares tend to have more aggressive interactions, more negative emotions, more misfortunes, and more threatening characters than ordinary dreams. This quantitative approach has helped clinicians develop more effective treatments for nightmare disorders. But the core insight that Hall pioneered, that dreams can be systematically measured and compared, remains as relevant today as it was in the 1940s. Modern sleep researchers studying everything from depression to creativity continue to use variations of his approach to quantify dream content and relate it to waking psychological states. One of the most intriguing recent applications of Hall's method involves studying how dream content changes across the lifespan. Researchers have used the coding system to analyze dreams from children, adults, and elderly individuals, revealing systematic changes in dream patterns as people age. Children's dreams, for example, contain more animals and fewer complex social interactions than adult dreams. The animals in children's dreams are also more likely to be threatening. Bears, wolves, and monsters appear more frequently than in adult dreams. As people age into their 20s and 30s, their dreams begin to reflect the increasing complexity of their social relationships. Dreams feature more coworkers, romantic partners and acquaintances, and fewer family members. The settings become more diverse, reflecting the broader range of environments that adults navigate in their daily lives. Middle-aged adults' dreams show distinctive patterns related to their life concerns. Dreams about work become more common, as do dreams about their own children. The balance of positive and negative emotions in dreams reflects the typical stresses and satisfactions of midlife. Dreams about the past become more frequent, suggesting that middle age is a time of increased reflection and life review. Elderly individuals' dreams show another shift in patterns. Dreams about deceased family members and friends become more common. Dreams about physical limitations and health concerns increase. The overall emotional tone of dreams often becomes more positive, possibly reflecting the tendency for older adults to focus on positive memories and experiences. These findings suggest that dreams might serve as a window into cognitive and emotional development across the entire human lifespan. By applying Hall's standardized measurement approach to dreams from different age groups, researchers are uncovering new insights into how the mind changes as we grow in age. The Hall-Van de Castle system has also proven valuable for studying the effects of trauma and mental illness on dream content. Researchers have found that people with depression have dreams with distinctive content patterns, more negative emotions, fewer positive social interactions, and different character distributions compared to healthy individuals. These patterns can be quantified using Hall's categories, providing objective measures that complement traditional clinical assessments. Post-traumatic stress disorder produces particularly distinctive dream patterns. PTSD patients' dreams often feature more aggressive interactions, more negative emotions, and more threatening characters than normal dreams. The trauma-related content can be systematically identified and tracked over time, providing clinicians with objective measures of recovery progress. Anxiety disorders also leave quantifiable traces in dream content. People with generalized anxiety disorder have dreams with more misfortunes, more negative emotions, and more threatening situations than healthy individuals. Social anxiety disorder produces dreams with more social interactions that go poorly, more embarrassing situations, and more negative judgments from other characters. Even eating disorders can be detected through dream content analysis. People with anorexia nervosa have dreams with more food-related content, more body image concerns, and more control-related themes than healthy individuals. The quantitative approach allows researchers to track how these dream patterns change as patients recover. Perhaps most remarkably, some researchers are using Hall's approach to study the dreams of people with different neurological conditions. By analyzing the dreams of patients with various forms of brain damage, scientists are learning about how different brain regions contribute to dream formation. Patients with damage to the visual cortex, for example, often report dreams with reduced visual imagery, and this can be quantified using modifications of Hall's system. People with damage to emotional processing centers show altered emotional patterns in their dreams. Those with memory disorders have dreams with different patterns of character recognition and setting familiarity. Parkinson's disease produces distinctive changes in dream content that can be measured using Hall's categories. Patients often report dreams with more aggressive interactions and more negative emotions, possibly reflecting the motor control difficulties they experience in waking life. The quantitative approach allows researchers to track how these dream changes relate to disease progression. Alzheimer's disease also affects dream content in measurable ways. As memory deteriorates, patients' dreams show changes in character recognition patterns, setting familiarity and narrative coherence. These changes can be quantified using adaptations of Hall's system, providing researchers with new tools for understanding how dementia affects consciousness and memory. The international reach of Hall's work has also expanded dramatically. The coding system has been translated into multiple languages and applied to dream reports from cultures around the world. This cross-cultural research has revealed both universal patterns in human dreaming and interesting cultural variations that reflect different social structures and belief systems. For instance, researchers have found that people from more collectivistic cultures have dreams featuring more group activities and family interactions, while people from individualistic cultures have dreams with more solitary activities and stranger characters. These patterns, measured using Hall's standardized categories, provide quantitative evidence for cultural differences in psychological experience. Dreams from cultures with strong religious traditions show more supernatural characters and spiritual themes. Dreams from societies with rigid social hierarchies feature more authority figures and status-related conflicts. Dreams from cultures that emphasize emotional expression contain more intense emotional interactions, while dreams from cultures that value emotional restraint show more controlled emotional responses. The coding system has even been applied to historical dream reports, allowing researchers to study how dream content has changed over time. By analyzing published dream collections from different historical periods using the same standardized categories, researchers can track cultural shifts in everything from gender roles to religious beliefs as reflected in dream content. Victorian-era dream reports, for example, show different patterns of social interaction and emotional expression compared to contemporary dreams. Dreams from the early 20th century reflect the social changes brought about by industrialization and urbanization. Wartime dreams from different historical periods show how collective trauma affects individual dream content. This historical dimension adds yet another layer to Hall's legacy. His measurement system has become not just a tool for understanding individual psychology, but a method for studying cultural and historical change through the lens of human dream experience. The methodological innovations that Hall introduced have also influenced research in other areas of psychology. His approach to content analysis has been adapted for studying everything from personal narratives to therapeutic conversations to social media posts. The basic principles of systematic categorization, reliable coding, and statistical analysis that Hall established for dream research have proven useful across many domains of psychological investigation. Modern researchers studying autobiographical memory, for example, use content analysis methods derived from Hall's approach to systematically analyze personal narratives. Researchers studying therapy transcripts apply similar categorization systems to track changes in patients' language and concerns over time. Social psychologists use comparable methods to analyze how people describe their relationships and social experiences. The influence of Hall's approach extends even to artificial intelligence research. Computer scientists developing systems for natural language processing often use human-coded text as training data, following the same principles that Hall established for dream analysis. The careful categorization and systematic coding that Hall pioneered has become a standard method for teaching machines to understand human language and experience. Today, as we stand at the threshold of new technologies that might soon allow us to directly record and even visualize dream content, Hall's approach remains surprisingly relevant. Even if we develop the ability to capture dreams as vivid recordings, we'll still need systematic ways to analyze and compare their content. The categories and measurement principles that Hall pioneered in the 1940s may well provide the foundation for understanding dreams in the age of advanced neurotechnology. Brain-computer interfaces that can decode visual imagery from neural signals are already being developed in research laboratories. If these technologies eventually allow us to record dreams directly, we'll need systematic methods for analyzing and comparing the recorded content. Hall's categorical approach may prove essential for making sense of this new form of dream data. Virtual reality technology is also opening new possibilities for dream research. Researchers are experimenting with systems that allow people to explore and interact with reconstructed dream environments. These virtual dream worlds can be analyzed using adaptations of Hall's coding system, providing new insights into the spatial and social dimensions of dream experience. The emergence of big data approaches to psychology has also given new relevance to Hall's work. Modern researchers can now analyze dream reports from thousands of participants using computational methods, but they still need systematic ways to categorize and measure dream content. Hall's categorical framework provides the foundation for these large-scale quantitative studies. Machine learning algorithms trained on Hall-coded dream reports can now automatically analyze new dream reports with impressive accuracy. These systems can identify characters, settings, emotions, and interactions in dream narratives, allowing researchers to process vast amounts of dream data quickly and reliably. But the algorithms are only as good as the human-coded training data they learn from, which brings us back to the careful, systematic approach that Hall pioneered. The story of the Hall Van de Castle dream coding system reminds us that some of the most profound scientific insights come from applying systematic measurement to phenomena that seem inherently unmeasurable. Hall took something as personal and subjective as dreams and found ways to study them with the same rigor that scientists apply to any other natural phenomenon. In doing so, he revealed that even our most private psychological experiences follow discoverable patterns and can yield to scientific investigation. The dreams that feel so uniquely our own turn out to share remarkable similarities with the dreams of people across cultures, generations, and historical periods. Hall's work also demonstrates the power of taking a truly long-term perspective on scientific questions. By collecting and analyzing dream reports over decades, he was able to detect patterns that would have been invisible in smaller, shorter studies. His massive database of coded dreams became a unique scientific resource that continues to generate new insights decades after his death. Perhaps most importantly, Hall showed that the scientific study of consciousness doesn't require abandoning humanistic concerns about meaning and experience. His quantitative approach to dreams didn't replace subjective interpretation, it complemented it, providing an additional layer of understanding that enhanced rather than diminished appreciation for the richness of human psychological life. The reliability and validity of Hall's system have been demonstrated through decades of research. Studies have shown that trained coders can achieve high levels of agreement when analyzing the same dream reports. The categories have proven stable across different populations and cultures. The patterns discovered using the system have been replicated by independent researchers using different samples and methodologies. This scientific rigor has made Hall's approach a lasting contribution to psychology. Unlike many theories and methods from the mid-20th century that have been abandoned or superseded, the Hall Van de Castle system continues to be used and refined by contemporary researchers. Its combination of systematic methodology and theoretical sophistication has given it remarkable staying power in a rapidly changing field. The educational value of Hall's approach has also proven enduring. Students learning about dream research typically begin by mastering the Hall Van de Castle coding system. The process of learning to identify and categorize dream elements teaches important lessons about the nature of psychological measurement and the challenges of studying subjective experience scientifically. Many researchers who started their careers by coding dreams using Hall's system have gone on to make important contributions to other areas of psychology. The methodological skills and theoretical insights gained from systematic content analysis have proven transferable to many other research domains. The professor who believed that dreams could be standardized and measured turned out to be remarkably prescient. His vision of systematic dream research has not only survived the rise of neuroscience and digital technology, it has been enhanced by these developments. The coding system he created with Robert van de Castle continues to serve as a bridge between the subjective world of dream experience and the objective requirements of scientific investigation. Calvin Hall's quiet revolution in dream research reminds us that sometimes the most profound scientific advances come not from dramatic technological breakthroughs, but from patient, careful observation of phenomena that everyone else considers too complex or subjective to study systematically. His work showed that the systematic application of scientific method could illuminate even the most mysterious aspects of human consciousness. The legacy of Hall's work extends far beyond the specific findings about dream content that his system revealed. He demonstrated that rigorous scientific methods could be applied to the most intimate and subjective aspects of human experience without losing their essential meaning. His approach opened the door for systematic studies of consciousness, emotion, and personal experience that continue to enrich our understanding of what it means to be human. And so we return to that image of Calvin Hall in his 1940s laboratory, surrounded by thousands of dream reports, convinced that systematic measurement could unlock the secrets of sleeping consciousness. His quiet revolution in dream research reminds us that the most profound scientific insights often come from the patient application of rigorous methods to phenomena that seem impossible to study objectively. The standardized test that measured dreams turned out to measure something far more significant: the fundamental patterns of human consciousness itself, revealed through the patient application of scientific method to the most intimate productions of the sleeping mind. In showing us that dreams could be counted, Hall helped us understand that even our most personal experiences are part of larger patterns that connect us to the broader tapestry of human psychological life. Hall's vision of dream research as a quantitative science has influenced generations of researchers and continues to shape how we think about the relationship between subjective experience and objective measurement. His work stands as a testament to the power of systematic observation and the possibility of bringing scientific rigor to even the most elusive aspects of human consciousness. If you're in the mood for another gentle mystery of scientific discovery, our next deep dive awaits you.